and he goes and steals a cookie. What does the guy with the beard do? He stretches his beard, trips him up. What does the woman with the cloak and the head covering do? She picks up the sword, goes, Allahu Akbar, and cuts his hand. This is a caricature. It's a picture, it's a cartoon of a comprehensive model. It's also made it into some kind of Hollywood joke, this illusion that Muslims, all they want to do is collect hands. Do you see my point? It's very scary. And that's why I'm here to try and demystify what Islamic law is about. Not to show to you that, oh, we don't believe in this. No, we do. We believe that the thief, his hand should be cut. We do believe this as Muslims. But it's in the context of all the model I was talking to you about. So let's discuss it. He jumps out of the cohesive values. Then he or she would have to escape these values from being propagated in society. So it's not embedded within him or her. Then after, this person has to escape the mechanisms in society to prevent that person from doing crime in the first place. And then after, he has to escape the workable justice system with huge and higher burdens of proof. Now, let's discuss these very quickly. The higher burdens of proof are unlike the issue of beyond doubt. The Prophet ﷺ, peace and blessings be upon him, he said that is let him go with his better this in charge. This is the view. So give us the philosophy that these stupidly harsh punishments are deterrents that sit within the work of really, Western philosophers agree with this too. The late professor of Fordham University, Ernest van der Arg, he says, what is feared most deters most. Similarly, he argues, to me, the life of an innocent victim who might be spared has great value. The life of a convicted murderer does not. And to contextualize this further, let me tell you what, for example, the famous professor of law at Harvard University, Noam Feldman, he says, today, when we invoke the harsh punishments prescribed by the Sharia, Islamic law, for a handful of offenses, we rarely acknowledge the high standards of proof for the implementation. So this gives you the adequate context. You might disagree with it, but it gives you more of an understanding of the model. Now finally, and I have 5 minutes left, let me give you some of the fruits of this model, the manifestations of this model. However, I want to be very serious here. I personally and many Muslims do not believe there is a manifestation of this model anywhere in the Arab world. Muslims believe, and this is the grievance of the Muslims. We believe the Muslim world is full of dictators. The Muslim world is full of tyrants. We believe this, and we want to account them and create positive change in that society. And there's nothing wrong with that. So when I give you some examples, I'm not relating them to the contemporary period because we don't believe the model has been applied. I'm using history because there's a general consensus from a political historical perspective that this model was implemented in history. So let's look at some of these models. Kindness and liberty. The Quran expresses this and it says, there is no compulsion in the religion. It also says, what will explain to you what the steep path is? It is to free a slave, to feed at a time of hunger, an orphan relative or poor person in distress, and to be one of those who believe and urge one another to steadfastness and compassion. And we see this in history. Heinrich Graetz, a 19th century Jewish historian, expressed how Islamic rule in Spain favored the Jews in the context of kindness and liberty. And he says, it was in these circumstances as whose peoples of the co-religion in Babylonia and obtained religious and the unbounded tolerance of the must also be taken care of. Religious matters of man. Christians prefer Muslim rule to that of the Franks. Similarly, you have a contemporary Jewish historian, Zion Zohar. He says thus, when the Muslims crossed the Straits of Gibraltar, the Jews saw them as liberators from Christian persecution at the time. Also, we have an amazing study by another Jewish historian, Amnon Cohen. He looked at 1,000 Sharia court records in the Uthmani Khilafah, which means the Ottoman state, 19th century Sijil records. And the Jews had the choice to go to the rabbi or even to the Christian. But most of the time they went to the Islamic judge. Even to the point where Jewish women would go to the Islamic judge to tell the judge, to the husbands, to give them maintenance. So this was the type of justice that was happening in that society. Now,